Three cryptos banks are buying behind closed doors. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And looking at Bitcoin in the 4 hour, we are building a little bit of support. 4 hours a lot more reliable than the daily. So looking out at the daily, it's a little bit more scary, but in the 4 hour, we can clearly see that it's stopped out here, wherever we had the support zone. And it's stopping out a little bit here, so we could see that push up to the 200 EMA in the 4 hour. When you zoom out to the daily, it looks a little bit worse because we have a pretty heavy orange candle here, but we are still building higher lows. So if we can see Bitcoin continue to push up, create a new higher high from this previous high, which is right around that support area, we could see a little bit more increase in price to 98,000 before a little resistance, or even potentially up to the 200 EMA around 103 before getting that support at the 98 and having that continuation to 108. So the three cryptos that banks are buying behind closed doors, I'm not for sure on this, but I know it's some stuff's definitely happening behind closed doors for these cryptos: XRP, XLM, and HBAR. XRP, definitely one I highly recommend. You may never see $2 again. We may have a further retracement just because it's not looking very stable, but if Bitcoin starts to pull up, we could see the same continuation for XRP. Always constantly saying dollar cost average your XRP, whether it's up or down. If you have money, throw it at it. If you want to donate some towards me, I'll gladly accept, because it is $2 now, and I expect within the next half a year, we could potentially be seeing it trading around $15 to $25. That's a possibility. It's not too far gone. When you look at Bitcoin back in the day, I mean, it went from 139 to like thousands of dollars within a few months. XRP has the same potential. It's cross-border payments. If you don't have a bag of XRP, definitely stack a bigger bag. Looking at the RSI, we are trying to build some higher lows. We are underneath the yellow. We could expect this to pull up over the yellow towards the 50 yet again, and then create another higher low and essentially build this over the 200 EMA. Keeping in mind this is the 4 hour. We've been looking at the daily for many months in my channel, but now that it's getting closer to the moment, 4 hours are going to be a little bit more reliable, definitely a little bit more scary and mind-boggling. So the people who see it drop real quick in a 4 hour are going to be panic selling when it's really just a 4 hour moment, and it could easily pull back up within the next 4 hours. So XRP is trying to thin out the 200 EMA, trying to thin out the CM Guppy at the same time, and we want to see this consolidate upwards a little bit. If it breaks this support black trend line here, it can always be readjusted, something like this, but it's getting to the point where it can be creating a lower low, which could mean it has the potential to pull back to $1.76. And if for some reason it does not hold at $1.76, which is highly, it would be irrational, the next real support is $1.42, but there's a bunch of liquidity just waiting to grab it down here. Banks, institutions, everybody else is waiting to grab that XRP. Now, when we compare that XRP movement to what Hedera or HBAR did, we can see, what is this, October 10th, October 11th, we had a major decrease in price down to around 10 cents, which is roughly more or less where we're at 13 cents. When you look at XRP, what happened on the 10th or 11th? 10th, major decrease in price, almost identical to what we have seen in HBAR. If we draw a similar pattern from here to here, you could consider this a channel more or less, with this abnormally being the bear trap, snagging people who think it's going to go lower and a pull right back up towards that 200 EMA. So within the same channel, looking at XRP, there's the same thing with HBAR. Volume is picking up immensely. We are moving sideways in consolidation. And what I typically like to do is draw a line right down the center. And we need to get over that line, which is essentially the 200 EMA at the same time. If we can build this up, we would be potentially testing this downward trend line, getting some resistance, but then we'd have some support here around 15 cents. And if we can get that support and push up over that trend line, resistance here at 18 cents. So this is roughly the range we'd be looking at if we can get over this 50% mark. We are completely oversold for the most part on the RSI, so it does need to have a further momentum upwards in my opinion. However, it happens all the time where you start seeing a decrease in price even though we are oversold. So like, for example, here, looking at the RSI at the bottom, we are completely oversold. We had the push up, which brought us to the overbought, and then immediately decreased in price yet again even further. So this can have that push up towards the downward trend line and then a major decrease in price again, touching the bottom of this trend line before consolidation and pushing upwards. All these bars down here are major support around 7 cents. So if it does break down lower, like a 50% decrease, which doesn't seem accurate, or I don't think that's going to happen personally. Keeping in mind it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial guru or anything like that. But my opinion is we're going to get a little bit more consolidation. If Bitcoin starts to pull up, we're going to see this easily tap this downward trend line and more than likely get some resistance on that trend line. Keeping in mind we've touched it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So it's fairly weak. And then the only real resistance is 18 cents for H bar. Trying to keep this one short for you guys so it's not long and exaggerated. But let's look at XLM so we can compare the three. This one's just for members. I'm not going to post it for the community, even though they would like to see it. Trying to lean more people into memberships because this is pretty good information in my opinion. And same thing with XLM. XLM, similar to XCN, is working in the downward channel, but we are trying to build some higher lows. So with this previous point, if my iPad will not lag out, right around here, we are starting to build some higher lows. So you could see if we were to draw a line, let me draw a line from here to here. Come on, let's go. Here to here, that would be building higher lows. So if we can be holding that line, we could expect a continuation over that 200 EMA in the 4 hour. It looks different in the daily, but in the 4 hour, you could potentially see it building support off that thin black trend line. If it does not hold, you're looking at around 21 cents for the retracement and a potential bear trap where it does a liquidity sweep a little bit lower than the channel, pulls right back into the channel, and then starts working its wedge up towards this downward trend line. So keeping all these in mind, also XCN is working similar to XLM, long exaggerated downward trend. It's just a matter of time before Bitcoin pulls up, and then you will see these things easily just flick right out of the channel and beyond to new all-time highs. We're just waiting on Bitcoin. That's the whole premise of everything. So that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't. If you guys are members, I know you are. Hopefully this is more beneficial than just the normal channel. Donate, slap stickers, do all that good stuff, and I will see you guys on the next one.